Is there a difference between what you think your major role in your life is and what you actually prioritize? So if you see yourself as a worker and you're running out the door and you have 10 minutes to get there, get to work, and it's a 10-minute drive, do you stop to fold laundry on the way out the door, or do you jump in the car and drive? Right? Are you gonna just quick clean the kitchen before you get in the car and drive, even though you're late? Or are you gonna get in the car and drive and get there on time so that you can do your work? Who has ever caught themselves doing low priority things when they should be doing something high priority? Raise your hand. So what we see here is that we have a limited number of minutes in the day, and we have a limited amount of things that we can do. So if you're focusing your energy on things that are low priority in your life, can you actually expect high performance? There's a woman in America called Mary Kay. If you've ever seen Mary Kay Cosmetics, the way she sorted out her life was that, and she's a multi millionaire, by the way. She sorted her life out in the way that every day when she started her breakfast, she would write a list of things. And in that list of things, she would prioritize the top 4 things that she needed, absolutely positively had to get done that day. So as those things were being done, if the other things that were lower priority didn't get done, she would keep them on the list, but again, the next day she would write down what would be important and arrange them in relationship to how high a priority they were. And some of these things never got done because she knew they should be done, but they weren't a priority. Do we live our life putting out fires and running from one random thing to the other that we just see could be done? Or do we organize ourselves and decide what we want for ourselves? Okay, so these rules or these roles that we play are kind of like gloves. Who you are is like your hand going into a glove. Okay, sometimes we love the roles that we play so much that we have a hard time letting go of them when they're no longer useful. Like I said, if you're a CEO at work and you come home and you have twin 4-year-old girls running around the house and you're going to try to discipline them like you, or deal or negotiate with them like you do a business partner or an employee, you probably have problems, right? Same thing when you put your hand in a glove. If you can't get your hand out of the glove sometimes, it's going to get hot and sweaty during the summer. So my question is, sweaty hands, are you attached to your role so you can't drop one of them to go to the next one? So if I'm a competitor in jiu-jitsu, but then I'm going to be the competitor while I'm treating my patients in my clinic, is that an issue? And if I'm concerned with my opponent's health while I'm fighting in the way that a healthcare practitioner is that an issue for my competition? Absolutely, right? So I always like to think of myself, oh, do I have sweaty hands now or don't I? Right? So each one of the roles that you pick for yourself have to be like a glove that you put your hand in, and your hand has to fit the glove. Not only that, I'll come back to that in just a minute. But if you were to write down on a piece of paper what your highest goals and ambitions are for your life, and then try to figure out what roles you have to play in order to make that happen. So for example, you want an education. So you have to play the role of a student. You want a chiropractic practice. Well, then you have to play the role of a chiropractor. Is that correct? Yeah, you want to become a world champion in jiu-jitsu, you have to play the role of a jiu-jitsu competitor. It sounds very easy, except that most of us have never thought about what roles we actually play. We're just kind of making things happen, entertaining ourselves, and then we ask ourselves, we look back at 2020, Many people didn't really feel they got what they wanted out of 2020. Did you make yourself better? Were you able to move forward in the way you see yourself? Were you able to move forward in the way you efficiently move through your life? Have you built something for yourself? And do you realize that you have the potential to build almost whatever you want? You can't be everything, but you can be almost anything, right? So when I talk about the hand in the glove, the roles that we play, sometimes you're going to find a glove to put your hand in, a role that you want to play that just doesn't fit you, right? So let me tell you a story about my biking adventure. So I had a friend who was a triathlete, and he basically was sponsored by a biking company, and he got a bike that was worth $7,000. He got three of them actually, and one of them he'd only used twice, and he gave it to me as a present. And he said, "There's only one issue here. One thing I'm going to demand from you. You have to join the biking club, and you have to bike at least twice a week." And I'm like, "Ah, man, no problem." I said, "Well, how many hours a week do you cycle?" And he said, "Well, you should be asking me how many hours a day." And I said, "Well, what, one?" And he's like, "More." I said, "Well, two?" He's like, "No, man, more." I'm like, 3 hours a day you bike? And he's like, "Oh, about that, sometimes more." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." He's a professional triathlete, right? So I got the bike and I was like, okay, I'm going to show this guy that I can be good. So I decided to become a very strong competitor in biking. Now, I went all in. I had the gear. Man, I lifted and I ate right for biking. I completely changed my body. I lost all the muscle mass on my upper body. My legs were giant, you know. But if any of you have actually met me in person, am I a small person? Am I a light person? No, I'm not, right? I'm pretty big. So I'm probably around 100 kilos. So when I'm fighting in jiu-jitsu, I fight at minus 100 kilos. Well, in this instance, I was trying to cut my weight to get better following these guys in the hills. And I think I was 94 kilos. And that's with no muscle mass to speak of in my upper body. Because it seemed like all the muscle disappearing on the top would end up on my legs. And I came over some research that showed me that the steepest hill in the Tour de France, not that you were going to win it, but if you were just going to hang with the guys that are cycling that, not the fastest, but just cycling at the normal pace, if you were 86 kilos, you would have to be stronger in your legs than the Olympic champion in strength, the gold medalist in powerlifting, in order to hold the speed. If you were under 85 kilos, it was possible, but you had to be really strong. And the best ones were at 60, 65 kilos. Now, can you imagine me at 65 kilos? If you think I'm 100 kilos now, you'd have to cut my body in half, okay? I wouldn't have arms. I don't know what I could do to get down to that weight. And then I realized that the glove that I was trying to wear there did not fit me. There was no way that I was going to change my body enough to fulfill that role. So my question to you, are there some roles in your everyday life that you're fulfilling now that really don't fit you? Are there some gloves in your life that you should be taking off? So what I did is after I read the research, I very swiftly sat myself down and started thinking about my friends and how I was going to tell them that I was stopping the competitions in cycling. And yes, I did compete in cycling, by the way. And no, it didn't go very well. Okay, but I knew I had it in me. I knew I had the force of winning inside me, and so do you. Anything that you can conceptualize and believe in, you can achieve to a certain point. So the things that I would have to do in order to make myself win in cycling weren't actually worth what I would have to sacrifice, were they? So I just decided the glove didn't fit me, and I found another glove, which happened to be jiu-jitsu. And I became much more healthy. I found my path. And that's in a way similar to finding your true talents in life, is to finding the role that will support you in expressing who you are in the world.